Alright, so we're on the way to Top Secret Import Tuning, Newark, New Jersey. I'm in my 124 Spider. Behind me is my buddy driving my Fiat 500 Abarth. We should be there in about half an hour or so. Get the results on my Phase 3 1446 Plus Turbo 124 Spider that I'm driving, and the 500 Abarth, which is running I believe it's the Eurocompulsion Phase 2 full bolt-ons, stock turbo. Then we're going to be putting in a bigger drop-in turbo in the 500, dyno it again, and then an even bigger drop-in turbo, then dyno it again. We'll turn the cameras back on when we get to Top Secret and get these cars on the dyno. Stay tuned. Alright, so we have the 500 Abarth dyno graph here, and there are some tweaks that I need to do to make it visually look proper to you, because right now, I didn't notice this till after. If you look on the left, you have the horsepower. On the right, you have the torque. You're going to see at the top here, it says 180, and we're like almost 230, 220. He did something where it makes the horsepower and torque peak the same on the graph as you're about to see as I drag this down. It's basically, they almost peak, well they do, the graph is just a little tilted. They peak identical, but by doing that, it literally looks like it's got the flattest curve ever and makes an amazing top end, which it doesn't. Because right here, you are, if you look to the right, you're like, oh, it's almost 200. No, we're like below 160. So what I'm going to do to try and make this proper visually, because the whole point is we're going to be putting a bigger turbo on, and we want to look at the graph and see the difference. So let me try to do this, and I'm just explaining this so you guys know why. I'm not trying to Photoshop the graph without it. One, I'm not good enough to do that anyway. So this is what I'm thinking of doing. I am going to just follow this, and I'll explain to you in a minute what I'm gonna do. Okay, so I just went over it. So now if I could turn this on and I could turn this off, I basically copied that. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna take a single point that's very visually easy to see. First thing we're gonna do is make this graph a little straighter. So let me just shift this a hair. Why isn't it moving? Come on, there we go. Okay, it's just a little delayed. Trying to make this a little straighter. This is everything together. I think we're better, right? I got too many things running on my computer, so just really slow. Okay, so that makes it look straighter. Again, I didn't do nothing yet. I literally just what do you call, rotated the graph. This is still identical, as you can see. Alright, so I just made a few copies of things because as I'm editing, I want to make sure I do this properly. So the first thing we're going to do is, I made some lines here. So 160, we're going to pinpoint and look at some stuff, okay? So before, if we look at the horsepower on the top over here, let's pinpoint right, this dip is a good example. It dips right below 160, a hair below 160. So what I'm gonna do, I already made a line. This blue line here is on the 160. We don't need this right now. So this blue line here, make it easier, is on the 160 of torque, which now we're only going to use the torque field because it's supposed to be equal on the left and right. So now what do I need to do? Move this dip down where it's right below 160. That's going to be my first thing to do. Come on, I want to go down. I hate when Photoshop. There we go. So the 160 mark is right. Okay, let's move that up a hair. I would say that's about equal. And another way to tell if it's equal, ready? Between 55 and 60, I'm going to make a line right about here. Okay, even better, right there on the dot. It hits the 160 mark again for horsepower. So let's turn on mine, and boom. Do you see that exact point of 160? So we are good. This is the real horsepower graph. All right, so now what am I going to do? I'm going to turn on the old one and use something called content aware to remove the one in the back. Let me remove these grids real quick. And there you go. So it's going to be a little wonky looking, like over here when I used a tool in Photoshop to remove it, because I'm not a pro, nor am I trying to hide this or mess with anyone. This is literally because this is what a stock turbo looks like. If you didn't do this, let me bring it back above, this looks freaking crazy. If you're not actually paying attention to torque and horsepower, they should not be unequal. Like I said, it makes it peak the same, which is completely useless. You want to be able to visually see the drop off, visually see the fall off, and to do that, it needs to be equal on the left and right. Now, if he supplies me with the dyno graph where he made it equal, awesome, but I don't want to wait, and I want to bring this content to you guys as quick as possible. So that's why this is going to be the graph that I'm going to use, and I recorded this video to show you guys exactly why and how I got there. And it is pretty insane to see the fall off on a stock turbo, and I might even just go on Google and look for other folks who dynoed a stock turbo 500 just for reference, and you will see the fall off up top like this as well. It's just the nature of these cars. Let's just look at the peak to see what, not the peak, near red line. So right before, like say 65,000, it was one line below 160. And if I look at mine, just for comparison's sake, it is, check it out, one line below 160. All right, so now we know this is 100% accurate to the best of my ability as far as the top end goes for the horsepower from here forward. Look at that. I've said it before. Look at the way after peak torque, it is straight downhill. And this is where the power of a stuffed turbo, a drop-in turbo, a hybrid turbo, there's all these different words for it, but it's basically a reworked, internally reworked turbo, and that's where you can get a more flat curve and not have this crazy drop-off, which we're going to see in my 124 spider graph, because that one is equal left and right, so I don't even have to modify it. So let's quickly go over the mods that are on the car. It's running an EC Phase 2 tune on 93 octane, EC intercooler, ATM Cold Air Intake, ATP Catless Downpipe, Neuspeed Midpipe with, he installed, a previous owner that is, a 12-inch resonator, a Neuspeed axle back, the muffler version. So the car itself is actually pretty quiet. The resonator probably isn't too restrictive. The mufflers may be a little restrictive, I don't know. But I also have the Neuspeed axle back without the muffler. We'll be putting that on later. I might leave this on though, because I want to try and keep the comparison more fair when I do the bigger turbo. It also has the Turbosmart blow valve and the Turbosmart Wastegate actuator. I've heard some better things about Forge. I have the Forge units on my 124 Spider, but unless I run into further issues on the 500. Hey, it came with it. I'll leave it on for now. It's got the Alfa Romeo 4C coil packs, NGK Spark Plugs, PTP Turbo Blanket, and the Tork MultiAir springs. This is the full mod list to the best of my ability. If I forgot something, I'll put it in the comments, but I think this is everything. Now let's pop up that dyno graph again. As I explained, let's actually, just because there's literally no need for it, we're gonna just block this out because we're not gonna use this section here. So just give me 1 second. I want to just, like, literally, we're not using this. All right, we're gonna keep this easy. Power is power and torque. I explained that earlier. I want to touch base on a few things. I already said how a stock turbo falls on its face up top. It has a very punchy mid-range. Something else I want to touch base on, because I've seen this be pretty consistent when me and Marco, also known as Monster Fiat, we went to another dyno about a year ago and changed when I was on a stock turbo and he was on 1446 plus phase 3, and I believe we saw these dips right here. It's something, I don't know what the hell it is with these 1.4 liter multi-air engines. I've seen this on other people's tunes as well. There's some weird hiccup or dip that happens. I forget exactly what the theory was. Maybe some breakup, I don't know. But drop a comment, let me know. Let's figure out if we can clean that up. And then also up top, I found it surprising that it decided to just pick up in power. It kind of had just consistent down, 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 and you think it would just keep going down because we're after 6,000, and then 65 it kind of went up. I don't know. One thing I was a little annoyed about, this is just my fault, in the car I have like the Kenwood unit where you could put boost, you could do all these other things, intake air temps. I wish I left it on that because I had a GoPro in the car. It's kind of useless, so I didn't show no footage because the GoPro in the car, you can't see anything. You can't see the boost gauge, nor can you see anything on the Kenwood unit because I didn't put nothing there. Alright, so I think that's going to be it for this video. I don't want to, this video already got pretty long. I know you guys want another 124 Spider with the big turbo. That's going to be an upcoming video. I'm going to try and get that done very quickly, and then we'll compare it. This car, 176 was peak for wheel horsepower, 221 was peak for wheel torque. Those numbers sound pretty good, but as you can see, the graph doesn't look amazing. That, I'm saying, a lot has to do with the stock turbo. Drop your comments. Let me know what you think about this graph. As far as the dips that happen, like I said, I think I've seen them in other graphs as well. So pretty soon we'll have the upcoming video, and then we're going to be putting a bigger turbo in this car, which I have a video of an unboxing, which I'll link up here. I didn't really talk too much about what turbo it is. It's supposedly a hair bigger than a 1446 plus, and then that company that I'm working with also has another turbo that's bigger than that one, which should be a pretty healthy size for a drop-in turbo. That's it, guys. Sorry if you guys were waiting for the 124 results. That's going to be in another video. Like I said, I don't want to keep this too long. Subscribe, stay tuned. Check out drivendistrict.com. Hope you guys appreciate this. Have a great day. Thanks a lot.